Welcome, everybody, to the Rotary Earth Network's weekly call meeting. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here from all different time zones, too. We love that. So, morning, afternoon, evening. We're going to have a great program today, and we are going to have our first kind of project teaser. So, I'm going to show you, we're going to do that. All right, so welcome again to our club with Earth Talks. So we're really grateful to all our members and our associates and our donors and all the volunteers for their support. We do want to have you consider joining us as a member or associate. Let us know if you'd like to do that. Najodi will put something of a little flyer in the chat later on that'll let you know how to do that. And then we always ask you to please mute your audio when you're not speaking. And recordings and resources will be available on the Earth Talks Foundation website. If you haven't been there, Najodi, I will put up a link, I think, to that too during the meeting. And then speaker views, we have to do our disclaimer. Speaker views are their own and do not necessarily reflect the Rotary Earth Network Club or Rotary International. So let's do the four-way test, and this is our emphasis added for the environment. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth?
Is the environmental information accurate, science-based, and transparent?
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Does it protect people, ecosystems, and future generations?
Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Does it encourage collaboration, shared responsibility, and community trust?
And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Does it improve environmental health, human well-being, and long-term sustainability?
So this is a great Guatemalan trip that Salvador and some others are putting together. It is to help clean the Motagua River, the Motagua watershed. You're going to spend a day cleaning, hardcore cleaning with a lot of people. But you're going to also be going on different trips, and you're going to be learning all about the Motagua, all about the community. It looks like just a fantastic trip. I sat in on a meeting of this the other day, and it just sounds like a fantastic trip. And then this is the QR code that will take you to a WhatsApp chat. So that's a WhatsApp group. So if you have any interest in it, go ahead and join that group, and you can find out all kinds of things. It is in Spanish and English combined, but everybody I know has to translate stuff. So, but yeah, it's that will help you. That'll get you all the information that you need for this trip. There you go. Thank you so much, Liz, for introducing Jeff today. And thank you so much, Jeff, for being here.
Thank you, Jeff, for being here. Absolutely. It's an absolute joy to be able to introduce Jeff. Um, Jeff is the founder and CEO of Give Solar, whose mission is to put solar on low-income housing. I've known Jeff for about 5 years, and without question, Jeff is my solar hero. He's been a tireless advocate of clean energy for about 25 years. So when I joined Rotary in 2020, our first project with my club was to add solar to habitat houses. By then, Give Solar was already doing it. And quickly, Jeff became my mentor, go-to person, and just a wonderful friend. He's helped so many Rotary clubs across the country partner with their local Habitat affiliates to add solar to Habitat houses. And he gave his time in 2021, 2022 with ESRAG's Renewable Energy Task Force to help us write the manual on how to put solar on Habitat homes. You'll remember that Rotary International and Habitat for Humanity International have an official partnership since 2016. In 2021, Give Solar and Habitat Virginia were awarded $500,000 by the Architects of America to put solar on Habitat houses. But Jeff thinks big. And when I say big, I mean huge. And in September of last year, he launched with Habitat of Virginia a really massive undertaking to put solar on 10,000 Habitat homes across the US and Puerto Rico. I will say that ESRAG was a proud early endorser of this effort. Um, Now, if you've never joined a Give Solar barn raising, then you are missing out on a lot of fun, a lot of community spirit. And as you can see, I changed my background because that funny looking Welsh woman there with the white hat and the white shirt is me. Just eat your hearts out, everybody. Um, anyway, you don't want to hear from me. Um, Without further ado, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Jeff Hay. Thank you for coming, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you for that great intro. Yeah, Liz and I go back a ways, and we are very much kindred spirits. And I think the mentorship has gone both ways in our relationship. So yeah, and there's also a few others of you on this call that I recognize, and we've been on calls before, so it's nice to see some familiar faces. So. I'll start with a little intro to myself, and then I'll open up a slideshow. So my name is Jeff Heie. It's a tough last name, Liz, so don't feel badly. It's spelled Heie, and it's a Norwegian name, and so I have to blame my ancestors for that spelling. Um, so, yeah, I live in Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. It's about 2 hours outside of Washington, D.C. Um, a little background on how I got started in this work. In 2018, I started Give Solar as a project that aimed to help nonprofit organizations to access solar because many of the tax incentives that exist do not help nonprofits to access solar. And we wanted to help nonprofits to reduce their overhead expenses so that they could focus more of their resources on their core mission. And that work led me to Habitat for Humanity, a good friend of mine who's a board member of our local Habitat affiliate. For those who don't know, Habitat has over 1,000 affiliates in the United States, and I don't have the latest numbers on how many countries, but I believe it's over 60 countries that Habitat also operates in. Um, I started this project in partnership with our local Habitat affiliate that serves Harrisonburg, Virginia, and Rockingham County. We did a pilot project, started raising money for that project in December of 2020. The solar panels were installed in March of 2021. And in the process of raising money for this first project, I just discovered that there was a lot of interest in supporting the combination of affordable housing and clean energy. So the two of those things together, I discovered, were really inspiring, especially to environmentally motivated supporters. So we raised about $10,000 in our first effort, and that fundraising went so well that we decided to expand those efforts. So I went to the board of the local Habitat affiliate and said, "Hey, I think we can raise more money for solar. Why don't we aim for raising $100,000?" And that was in February of 2021. And by September, we had raised about $127,000. So again, each step along the way, we've had really good luck and very, amazing supporters who have rallied behind this cause. So I'm not sure what the secret to this is, but I just know that people are inspired by the idea of, making low-income families self-sufficient when it comes to energy. Um, I'm going to condense the rest of this story and get into the slideshow. But the rest of the story is once we had raised that 127,000, we were starting to have a presence on the internet, with a website and so forth. An engineer out in California did a Google search of low income solar, and my project came up in her Google search. She got in touch with me. She was an engineer responsible for designing the renovation of the headquarters of the American Institute of Architects, which is based in Washington, D.C. It's about 2 blocks from the White House. They were renovating their building, which was from the 1970s, in dire need of updating. And they wanted to do a decarbonized renovation of their building. And so they had, all these ideas about, okay, we can put solar panels on, we can do rainwater catchment, and so forth. But they wanted to figure out how to decarbonize or offset the embodied greenhouse gas emissions involved in the renovation. And so that's where we came in, and we set up a program to offset the embodied emissions by installing solar on habitat homes. And um, that discussion led to the $500,000 donation from the American Institute of Architects. That was about 3 years ago now, and we just completed that project. We installed 78 solar systems on habitat homes across Virginia, and it was a very successful project. And every step along the way, we've been encouraged by the reception of supporters and allies. And the American Institute of Architects, just like SRAG, has supported us through this whole process. So um, the rest of what I'd like to share will come up in the slides, but that gives you a little bit of background into this project. It's been a very fun grassroots to all the way to scaling initiative, and I have to pinch myself every day that I get to do this work. So um, the project that we have started as of September 20th of last year, Liz's background shows that event, and there'll be a few more pictures in the slideshow showing that event. Um, but we're calling it for now. This name may change depending on Habitat International's wishes, but for now we're calling it the Habitat for Humanity National Solar Project. And I've put my contact details into the chat, but they're also here. And I am the director of Give Solar. But as of the beginning of February, just 9 days ago, I'm now the national director of, the director of the, I'm still getting used to my new title, the director of the Habitat for Humanity National Solar Program. So yeah, that's a recent development, and I'll talk more about that in the slides. So for those who don't know about Habitat, Habitat serves families who are first-time home buyers, typically families that do not have access to generational wealth. They don't have a pathway to home ownership, and Habitat provides that pathway. All of these families are low income, and that is defined by 80% or less of area median income. Most of the homeowners in Virginia we find are 60% or below of area median income. As I said, they often don't have access to wealth from their parents in order to access their own home ownership. Many of these people are workforce employees, core members of our community, teachers, first responders, and the like. What's really concerning at this point in time is that many of these households pay anywhere from 10 to 20% of their monthly income on energy bills, which is a really untenable energy burden for these families. And of course, we all know, at least in the United States, I know we have a lot of international people on this call, prices related to housing are rising rapidly, including homeowners insurance, the actual price of a home, the cost of land, Electricity prices by themselves went up by 6.9% in 2025. And then food prices ever since COVID have gone up by nearly 25%. So as you would expect, that the wages of low-income households have not been able to keep up with these rising costs related to housing. I find this graph to be really stark. It is the rise in electricity prices in the last, well, it goes back to 2015, but you see in 2020, there's a precipitous rise in the cost of electricity. And so between 2020 and today, the price of electricity has gone up by 35% in the United States. Looping back to our Virginia project, this is some data about the project. In Virginia, we're installing systems that average about 12 solar panels. So in that picture on the bottom left, or just above the state photo, that's the size of one panel. So we're installing 12 of those panels, and the 12 of those panels together add up to 4,800 watts, or 4.8 kilowatts, for those who are unfamiliar with how they measure the size of a solar system and the output of a solar system. So we've been tracking these systems that we've installed. 17 of them have been in operation for a year, and we're also tracking the consumption of the families. So the average consumption of these households is about 11,600 kilowatt hours per year. And the solar systems are producing about 6,290 kilowatt hours per year. So, of course, this is going to vary according to family size and so forth. But this gives you an idea of how much of the electricity the solar panels are offsetting. It's about 65%. And in Virginia, we're just using averages here, but the average electricity price in Virginia is around 14 cents per kilowatt hour. So these homeowners are saving about $73.40 a month on their electric bill. And just want to assure you that if we want to go back to any of these slides after I'm done, I'm happy to do that. So one of the big challenges that we face is convincing Habitat writ large, the big Habitat International organization, that solar is in alignment with Habitat's core mission. And so this is kind of how I like to frame this, that housing affordability is not just, how much you pay in rent or in a mortgage, but it's also how much do you pay to operate your home over time. So it's really, that is the critical piece in convincing Habitat, because Habitat's a very large, pretty decentralized decision-making organization. Every local Habitat office has its own board. So we have a lot of convincing to do, but we feel like the economics of solar speak for itself. If we get the information and the data out, that we have a lot of support for convincing these affiliates. So this is what our national solar program looks like currently. So all of the little Habitat logos that you see on this slide are state offices of Habitat. I know that Puerto Rico is in the wrong place. You probably also recognize that, but Puerto Rico is also involved in this, and Hawaii is also involved. You'll see out west that there's some states that don't have a logo in them. Most of these states don't have a state office. So not every state has a Habitat state office. The purpose of these state offices is to support the activities of all the local affiliates. So one way to think about Habitat as an organization in the United States is that most medium-sized cities have their own Habitat office. Sometimes there's rural Habitat offices that cover a couple counties and so forth. So one of the beauties of this project is we have access to the entire country through the Habitat network. And that's part of why we think this project is so compelling, that we we can reach the families. So yeah, there's 24 Habitat affiliate support organizations that are participating in this. The way that we envision the rollout of this project is that each of these ASOs will serve a territory of 1 to 6 states. Most of them will only serve the state that they're in, but some states have offered to serve surrounding states. For example, Idaho, on this map, which is way up in the northwest corner. If you can see my cursor, it's right here. Idaho is going to serve the Habitat affiliates in Montana and in Wyoming. So they're going to have a 3-state service territory. One of the reasons that we think that this is going to work is that these state offices of Habitat have access through their affiliate network or their local office network to hundreds of homes in each of these states. And that's kind of how we anticipate reaching our big goal for this project, which I haven't revealed yet, but I think Liz maybe did, but I'll get to that. But the state offices of Habitat have the ability to aggregate a lot of potential solar installs or Habitat families. And the intention is to aggregate these installs and then contract with solar installers to do batches of solar installations in order to achieve, preferable pricing or economies of scale. So our batching, we're not there yet. We're still doing, piecemeal 1, 2, 3, 3 installs at a time, but we'd like to get to the point where we're doing like 10 to 20 at a time so we get better pricing. So the primary goals of our national program are to reduce the energy burden Habitat families. Our main goal is to try to get their electricity bills reduced by 50%. That's kind of our benchmark that we want to achieve. And it's hard to do, but we feel like that is the amount that kind of addresses the energy burden problem. So it's a little bit arbitrary that 50% is our goal, but we feel like that's the amount that we think will make the difference that we need to make in the lives of these families. We also want to protect families from rising electricity rates. On average, over the past 2 decades, electricity rates have risen by about 3% per year. And of course, you saw the graph that said in the last 5 years, it was 35%. So, and then, a big part of this is also educating homeowners on environmental issues and giving them the opportunity to participate in environmental solutions. So if I had to come up with a one-liner, it would be empowering working families with solar savings. And Liz mentioned that SRAG has been involved with this project and is an endorser of this project. The other endorsers of the national project are the American Institute of Architects, the Solar Energy Industries Association, Third Act, and Solar United Neighbors. Some of you will recognize at least a few of these organizations. As of yet, we don't have a corporate endorser. We hope to have one. We've submitted some requests for a national level endorser, and we haven't heard back yet, but that's our goal. To date, we've raised about $3.8 million for our solar programs. A lot of that went to Virginia because of the early support from the American Institute of Architects, and we had to raise some complementary funding in order to do these installs, these 78 installs in Virginia. So we've also raised $1 million for 10 other states to start up programs. We got an individual donation from one of our donors to start up a solar program in the state of Kansas, and that program is up and running. I spend a lot of time helping with developing the solar program based upon our experience in Virginia, and we got 2 donations for our national solar program, one for $600,000 and then one more recently for $200,000. The $200,000 donation is really interesting because we have some longtime supporters who wanted to find a way to provide leverage in our fundraising efforts. And so they gave us the 200,000 and said, go out and find some fundraising consultants who can help you reach the big national foundations. So that money is very helpful. We've hired our first fundraising consultant, and we'll be probably hiring another one in the next couple of months. So 3.8 million so far, and we think that it's possible to raise a whole lot more. One thing to note is that we are going after donors who have that environmental focus, and oftentimes they are donors who have not donated to Habitat before. And so one of the reasons Habitat is intrigued by this project is that we're bringing new donors into their donor base, which is very important to them because they don't want this project to compete with, the fundraising that they do for building homes, right? So my goal is to find those environmentally focused donors who see this as a compelling project, and hopefully in the future these donors will support the home construction activities of Habitat as well. All right, so oh shoot, Liz, you're not in this picture, but good thing we have a picture of Liz actually raising a solar panel. So Liz was standing right where this gentleman was when she was helping to lift the solar panels. So this was our event on September 20th. It was very much a local event. It was kind of tough to make it a national event, but we got our mayor of our town and several of our city council members there, and then a bunch of local supporters, Give Solar supporters, and we installed solar on 3 Habitat homes on this day. And it was a great launch to the project. So the big goal for this project is to make solar accessible to 10,000 Habitat families in the next 5 years. It doesn't always mean installing solar on the roof, and I'll get into that a little bit more in one of the later slides. But our initial fundraising goal for the project is $40 million. And we hope to, yeah, it's a big chunk of money, and I've got my fingers crossed because I'm not a professional fundraiser, but I think it's a compelling project. So we're hopeful that some, high wealth donors will get behind this, and we'll be able to reach this goal in 5 years. So last September, we got a very symbolic and meaningful donation from James Carter, who goes by Chip Carter, who is the son of Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter. And we made contact with him through a friend of a friend, and he was very quick to support this project. So at some point in the future, we might go back to him and see if he wants to be a figurehead behind this project, or if he wants to be involved in any way. But that was really exciting to get that support, because the Carter family has been such a integral part of Habitat for Humanity for decades. And so here are some of the different tools that we're looking at as ways to make solar accessible. So of course you recognize rooftop solar on the upper right there. In the upper middle is the ground-mounted solar, which sometimes works if a rooftop is shaded. It doesn't often work for Habitat because the lot sizes are typically pretty small, but there are some situations where it would work. Some of you who are solar geeks like me are probably familiar with what they call plug-in or balcony solar on the lower left. That is a movement that is gathering steam. And what gets me very excited about this movement is that it is very hopeful in other parts of the world. It is a low cost, clean energy solution, very reliable. And I think, I haven't expanded my work outside the United States, but at some point in the future, I hope to be involved in, making this type of energy accessible around the world. Um, on the lower right here is an example of a utility scale solar farm, and that's another pathway for habitat families to get access to solar through a subscription model or purchasing shares. Lower middle is the example of a habitat restore that has solar panels, and of course, the habitat restores are the one of the methods that Habitat uses to raise money to build houses. And so, if we can reduce the overhead costs of these restores by installing solar, we see this as another way to support the overall mission. So it's a little bit of a tangent. It's not our primary focus, but it's something that we're also delving into a little bit. All right, so this is a very fun map. And again, this is kind of a solar geek map. It shows, I call it a sunshine map, but I guess its technical term is a solar insolation map, not insolation, but insulation. Or wait, no, sorry, I got it backwards. Insolation, not insulation. So it basically shows how much sunshine falls on these different parts of the country. And so I live here in Virginia, and it's kind of a middle of the road state as far as sunshine goes. Some of our upper Midwest states have, less sunshine, but surprisingly, there's places like out here in Wyoming that have really amazing solar resource. And it's not very intuitive where the sun shines the most. So you look down here in Florida, and yeah, it's okay. But apparently, even though it is the sunshine state, it also gets a lot of clouds. But of course, in the Southwest of the United States, there's huge solar resources. So these are the places where solar makes the most sense, but it makes sense everywhere, really. So I just wanted to share this with you to allow those of you who are unfamiliar with this a chance to kind of understand that solar resources vary geographically. All right, so a little bit on the methodology for how we're expanding our solar program nationwide. We're trying to identify first adopters in each state. So we're looking for a habitat affiliate who is, already motivated and interested in solar, but just doesn't have the funding to do it, or perhaps they don't have the staffing to do it. And our national program, we do have a solar project director who is a licensed solar installer. And he is helping in some states to screen homes for solar, and so we're utilizing his skill set to help screen these pilot projects. Once we get these pilot projects implemented and the solar installed, then we are collecting data about how much energy is produced, how much money is saved, and so forth. We want to get that data out to the other affiliates in the state because you all know that solar energy, the economics of it speak for itself, and it's more just kind of a messaging challenge to try to get all of the habitat affiliates on board with the potential for helping the homeowners. So after we do these pilot projects, we share the data and we work to convince other affiliates to get involved. And then the next step, I have about 4 states right now: Alabama, Wisconsin, let me see, Puerto Rico, and one other state that's not coming to me right now, but we have 4 states that are primed to get started with a statewide solar program. Minnesota, I should have remembered that. And basically what that means is if the funding becomes available, Habitat, the state office of Habitat, will launch a statewide program. So I'm going after the funding in the hopes of being able to direct that funding to each of the state offices of Habitat. All right, and this is just a list of shovel-ready projects, which are projects that have already been screened for solar. And again, the mantra is if the funding becomes available. So we have lots of houses that are ready to receive solar. You know, the total cost of all of these projects is about 5.3 million. And and this list keeps getting added on to. So anyway, so this list of shovel-ready projects keeps getting added on to, and you know, our hope is to have these pilot projects in each state to build momentum for a statewide solar project. All right, and here's a few of our specific funding opportunities. We have a donation page for donating a solar panel, which was really inspired by SRAG and Liz with the 1 million solar panel challenge. And I thought, well, you know, if Rotary is going to do a 1 million panel challenge, then you know, maybe one way to support this project would be to encourage Rotarians who maybe can't install solar to install on or donate a panel to install on a habitat roof. So the cost of the systems that we're installing is about 15,000. So sometimes we'll encourage donors to support a whole solar system. We have also another fundraising page for our national solar project. And then I mentioned the statewide solar program. We're aiming for 500,000 to start up each of those programs. And then the national corporate sponsor, we're hoping to find um, a, a corporation that aligns with the mission of Habitat and would be willing to support this project to the tune of $10 million. So it's a lot of money, but I think there's really good value in this type of collaboration with Habitat for Humanity on these solar projects. So I believe that's my last slide.
Thank you so much, Karen, for this opportunity. Thank you, Jeff, for your excellent presentation on solar panels. And I think this is everywhere. And now the solar panel is everybody's need to be independent, you know. Like in future, there may be a possibility that related to the water also, every house will have their own recycling thing. But here in India, I would like to share that everybody is actually using the this thing related to the every roof I am seeing right now there are the solar panels at least for the water heating sake they are utilizing it. And now
I guess
so
we're
Jeff,
important.
this is our certificate. We are very much appreciating your contribution for the solar, and in recognition of your generous contribution as a guest speaker to Earth Talks Weekly Global Dialogues hosted by our Rotary Earth Network Club. So thank you so much for everything you are doing. And our next slide is related to our next speaker. Next speaker is our Steve Bender. Everybody know very well him in SRAG as well as contribution towards the environmental projects around the world. And Rotary Earth X is our next speaker.
Okay, thank you so much, Najodi. Thank you, Najodi. Jeff,
Thank you.
fantastic program. Thank you. That was fantastic program. Man, that's just so good to see all the what Habitat's doing. It's just incredible. Yeah, and I'm really proud of you guys. Bill Ashman, do have a few
Yeah,
um
thank you. Good
yeah.
morning, Jeff. I'm lucky enough to be in San Diego where you had the brightest sunshine. But California, so my question is the different states, and thank you for going to several states already. Just talk a little bit about the different entities, the electric companies and the government, how you're working your way through that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, one of the challenging complexities is that every utility across the country, which is probably hundreds, if not thousands, has different rules around solar. We hope that many of them will have enabling rules, especially solar net metering, but we recognize that that is not the case. So part of the reason that I included that slide with the different tools in our toolbox is that um, balcony solar or plug-in solar, as an example, is something that is very accessible. Not everybody, not every state has enabling legislation, but I believe there's 14 states that are currently considering enabling legislation for balcony solar. And what makes that really exciting is that there's no need for an interconnection agreement with the utility, and there's no permitting. The balcony solar system is basically treated like a toaster, something that you plug into the wall and you use it for some purpose. So balcony solar is something that you plug into a 110 outlet and it feeds electricity into your house rather than using electricity. So so that's kind of like one of our, one of our aces in the hole, if you will. Balcony solar could always be a backup option. But there's definitely states like, I'll give you an example. Alabama is one of the states that I'll be traveling to next week. They have very antiquated solar rules, and we're exploring a community solar project along with the utility in Huntsville, Alabama, um, that would allow the homeowners to subscribe to this solar farm. And, as I mentioned, our goal is to reduce electricity bills by 50%. That's going to be a challenge in this case, but that's a really hopeful model that can be used in some of those places that maybe don't have solar net metering. California is a great example of a state that, my understanding, requires solar on new builds, and so Habitat has had a yeah. So the different states have different regulations when it comes to making solar available. Yeah, I could probably go into it more, but I see a bunch of other hands, and so we should probably get
Yeah.
there as well.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Raj, go ahead.
Some of my observation on the solar panels or the solar energy. Today, I went to one of the site where our district has provided the solar panels. The problem associated with solar panels, the dust which coat the solar panels and the efficiency goes down. Secondly, if it is not on grid, it means directly supplied to the local supply, electric supply, then you need a batteries, and the batteries has a certain life, and the entire after few years the battery has to be replaced and it costs more. I feel the sustainability of the solar panel has to be rethink exclusively for battery, and second, its life cycle assessment. If the life is over, what we'll do? Otherwise, as Rotary International decided to have 1 million solar panels, we are going ahead. So I just want to know your opinion on the solar panels.
Yeah, I think I heard and understood most of that. Related to batteries, we are, wherever possible, we're trying to avoid batteries, especially in places that have solar net metering. Again, this is focused. Our efforts are focused in the United States, and so the infrastructure is, perhaps more developed. So there are some states, especially Puerto Rico, that batteries are really desirable because of the instability of the grid. So I think one of the points to make about batteries is that the price has dropped precipitously in the last 2 years. I bought a battery maybe 6 months ago. That same battery today is probably half of what I paid for it. So the prices continue to fall. Over time, perhaps I believe batteries are intended to last maybe a 10-year span. The solar panels typically have a 25-year span. So yeah, so the batteries are not something that we're actively pursuing, but they are something that we pursue in some states. So Was your other question related to dust on the panels? Was that?
Yeah, exclusive in India, the dust in the atmosphere is more and it fall and
Yeah.
it cover the solar panels and then efficiency goes down. And my third question was the life cycle assessment of solar panel
Yeah.
disposal, battery disposal, life cycle assessment, and the solar panel disposal because it has a defined life.
Right. The solar panels that we're installing in our project have a lifespan of, well, their warranty is for 25 years. We expect them to last for 30 to 40 years. So it is a long-term investment. As far as dust goes, I know that that's a problem in certain parts of the US and certainly in other parts of the world. Dust can be removed. I believe that the guidance is to not use abrasives on solar panels. We basically tell our homeowners that unless you live in a place that has a lot of dust, the rain will clean off the solar panels fine. Um, We've had some snow this year that has stuck around for a while here in Virginia, and so the solar panels were covered by snow for at least a week or two. So of course that's going to really impact the solar production, as well as the sun being lower in the sky in the wintertime. So there's definitely a variability through the year of solar production, with at least in the northern hemisphere, December, January, and February being pretty low production, but then the shoulder months, so the spring and the fall, have very high production. So I hope I got all those questions, and I know there's a few other questions.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so my question, and you may have answered it, but help me by repeating. I'm so excited to support Give Solar in Minnesota. What's my next step? How do I give you support?
I would say encourage some of your. By the way, Tim, it's good to see you again. We've been on many calls in the past, so nice to see your face. I would say by talking to some of your affiliates in Minnesota, and if they're not already on board, if I had to guess, that your local affiliate is probably very much on board. But getting those early adopters, and maybe sharing information with those Habitat affiliates about the data that we're collecting in regards to solar production and homeowner savings. Just getting the word out. Like it's a challenge, to be honest, for Habitat because they have so many barriers to overcome when it comes to building affordable housing. And adding solar is, in many cases, seen as like one more box to tick or one more thing to do. And Habitat as an organization has like rising costs of labor, of materials, of land, all of it. And so the notion of, oh, we want to add another $15,000 system to your house is hard to overcome. So I think what we really need to do is find ways that we minimize the work that the Habitat affiliate does. I know that Habitat Minnesota is very much on board with this project, and it's just a matter of, getting funding. Talk to your fellow Rotarians, see if you want to.
Yep. So my takeaway is we did fund. There's 13 clubs that helped fund the first couple of houses that had solar panels.
Yeah.
So the Twin Cities franchise is up and running. The way they're organized, though, there's the Metro Habitat and the Outstate Habitat. So we'll probably try to reach out to that Outstate Habitat and get them going.
Yeah.
But my takeaway is maybe our role is to just do fundraising for Habitat to put panels up.
Yeah, and I'm happy. I'm always happy to support those efforts too, especially with maybe some of the data that we've collected. I'm guessing Habitat Minnesota might also have some of that data. Here's another challenge that I need to bring up is not everybody shares our goal of making solar affordable and accessible to Habitat families. And so some of the, some of the utilities, some of the other entities that want to support this don't necessarily align with that goal. So my long-term goal would be Habitat is often a mortgage lender. How hard would it be to incorporate the cost of solar into the mortgage, which would raise the mortgage by maybe $30 a month. And for that $30 a month, the family would save $80 or $90 a month. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but we have to convince Habitat, and there's some other barriers besides that. There's like this 30% cap on so in order for affordable housing to be considered affordable, the homeowners can only spend 30% of their monthly income on their housing. So oftentimes Habitat is bumped right up against that 30%. So you can't think about adding another $15,000 to that. But, the economics of it, let's go to 31% in order to pay for the solar, and then their net their net savings are going to cause their housing burden to go down to 27 or 28%. So there's some structural challenges to convincing Habitat that this is a good idea. So
and then advertise the guidebook. Rotarians, go out to srag.org, get the guidebook, and influence your Habitat franchise to get on board.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you, Jeff. We need to end the meeting since it's an official Rotary meeting. So we're going to adjourn the Rotary meeting.